the dynamic, the way that this group has tightened as a dynamic is like, I feel when you asked about the scripts, more and more that it's relying on the relationships between the characters more than anything to tell the story. And that's so exciting. It feels like great storytelling. It feels like we know and care enough about all of these characters now to want greater depth and greater detail. And yeah, I'm just so excited.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for all being here. I'm Hillary from Vanity Fair. It's great to be talking to you. Congratulations on being back for a third season after a very long break. How does it feel to be back in production? I guess that's sort of a question for everyone.
Phenomenal. Everybody's so excited. It's surreal.
When did you all get back to Montreal and kind of start getting back to work?
Danielle and I arrived like mere hours before the first massive snowstorm of their season, so we made good time.
Yeah, but like everyone came back at sort of the end of the first week in December, and then the following Monday is when we started shooting the season.
Okay. And how much do you know about what's going to happen this season? How much of it has been written? Do you have a sense for the fuller arc, or just kind of the beginning?
We know a little bit, but we did just get a new script, so there isn't even more.
We did? Minutes ago in our inbox.
Minutes ago.
Really? Yeah. So yeah, the showrunners have given us little hints about threads of storylines that are happening, but I feel like they all have caveats of so far, at least. They're like still clearly in the process of writing, but yeah, we've gotten little hints.
Okay, yeah. And now that you're in season 3, there's been all of the exposition has been established, and there's, a mythology on the show and everything. It feels like all of the table setting has been taken care of. How do you feel the show has evolved in those past 2 seasons? And what do you think now that you're in season 3, how do you feel it's changed?
I don't think it's changed. I think that the ensemble has gotten so much tighter, and the musicality of the group and our ability to sort of read each other's next move and play off of each other has gotten so strong. So like, we haven't been in a room together in 9 months. We drop back in on Monday and it's like no time has passed. We're able to sort of bat the jokes back and forth better than ever. It feels really good.
Yeah, it's like when you asked how it is after this crazy year being back at work, it's like simultaneously feels like a decade ago, but also yesterday. We were all kind of back on set and everybody sort of knows the same sort of way to the water cooler, and where like we all end up kind of congregating as the same area. It feels very familiar in such a nice way.
I was just going to say the characters know each other so well now, right? Like, we know about Hetty's husband who's gone and come back a couple times. We know about Pete's wife. Trevor had a funeral. We know who killed Alberta. So we have so much history to draw on now that the interpersonal relationships just get to kind of sing. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to go back to you, Rose. And I mean, first of all, I just want to, do you get a lot Americans being surprised that you're not American when you speak?
Yeah, quite a lot. It's funny though, because I haven't been using an American accent for 9 months at least. It's like, it does feel a little bit like getting back on the bike and kind of figuring out how it all works. And yeah, I feel lucky. I've had lots of good dialect people, and there's plenty of people around me to check in with every time. Just today I heard something that I was saying, and then after a few runs at it, I'll be like, oh no, there it is. So yeah, it's. But I mean, I was just thinking before about like the dynamic, the way that this group has tightened as a dynamic is like, I feel when you asked about the scripts, more and more that it's relying on the relationships between the characters more than anything to tell the story. And that's so exciting. It feels like great storytelling. It feels like we know and care enough about all of these characters now to want greater depth and greater detail. And yeah, I'm just so excited.
Yeah, I do feel like that's the mark of a great sitcom, is one that is based entirely on the characters and how they interact with each other. And the great thing about this show is, having such a large ensemble where you can all mix in different combinations. And Danielle, I just cut you off, so I don't know.
No, are you kidding? No, I was just going to say Rebecca talks a lot about finding the musicality in a scene and the rhythm. And I feel like as a cast and crew, we found our song this season. You know, we're singing really well, and I can't wait for folks to see what we have cooked up for them.
We just shot a scene right before we did this that had Rebecca, Danielle, and I in the same scene together. And I think Rebecca turned to me afterwards and was like, "Oh, I don't think we've done this little triplet in a long time." So it's always fun to find different combinations. And like you say, like that kind of exposes different sides of our characters, and so fun to explore all the different permutations of cast.
Yeah, I mean, if we could maybe kind of go around the room. I'm sort of curious who each of you like to, which characters you think your characters kind of interact most interestingly with, like, or what combinations you haven't explored as much that you would like to.
I get the opportunity to work with animals sometimes on the show, and that's my favorite scene partner. And then sometimes I pitched a lot of ideas on just doing solo scenes. I think that would be fun. Just making my own kind of music, like one-person music. Is that like an a cappella group?
Get out of here.
And then back to Rose. A lot of people on the cast say that I have the best handle on the English language. So I've actually been taking some time over the past couple of years, not to toot my own horn, but I've been coaching Rose a little bit on just English accent and just, enunciations and just how to kind of like, just the way to, sound like an American. And I think, I don't know. I think that's what worked out for everyone.
And to that point, Devan, actually, his whole method is an English accent is the way to an American accent.
Right. Exactly.
Obviously, Vikings spoke in English accents. We all know that.
Yeah.
Notice any issues?
Or Devan, if you want to give us a sample of some of your work, it'd be, please, my God.
Yeah, you did that whole scene from Downton Abbey earlier. What was that Downton Abbey scene you were doing?
I am too shy, and thank you so much. But honestly, you guys, it's just
we just want to celebrate.
But I don't want it to be about me. This isn't about me. It's about all of us. And
you are the most trained classical actor amongst us.
That's true.
People have said that. I haven't said that. There's a blog that I wrote in the future called, what to expect about acting when not expecting, and in that blog that has not been written or read yet, that I'm an author of, it says something about me being very talented of the source. Anyways, this is, again, not about me, and this is an ensemble cast.
Was it you who, when we did like the upfronts at Carnegie Hall, it was the first time you'd ever been in a theater? Yeah. Like, been in a theater was performing on stage at Carnegie Hall? True. Is that true?
That is true. I've never seen a musical or been to a musical, but I have participated in a musical at Carnegie Hall. That's kind of interesting, to the right? Top,
baby.
Good record. It took 11 minutes for you to go totally off the rails.
There's a story about. There's a story. It's like there's you ever see that Disney movie where the kids never played baseball and you can throw like 200 miles an hour? I'm not saying that's how I felt, but that's a good movie.
And that's what we're here to promote.
Any follow-ups about the blog of the future that Devan's writing?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. I think it is my responsibility to take things kind of back on the rails.
Bring us back, please. Bring us back.
If anybody wants to answer the original question, I think it's still.
Oh, geez, what was
an option?
Well, I have to say that I love having scenes with Devan because he makes me bawl cry. Like, I am weeping every time. Even we had a scene together today with the whole cast, and I was just weeping at the end. And they, Alberta and Thorfinn, they're bullies, and so they're friends, but they're like kind of frenemies, and so they always try to one up. Yeah, they try to one up each other. I realized I don't really have a lot of scenes with Trevor. And so I'm excited to see what happens for season 3. I think that's a combination. Like, I don't think we've ever done like a one-on-one or anything like that. So I'm excited to act more with my friend Asher.
Yeah, I would love that.
Saying to Brandon this morning that Sam and Isaac's friendship is one that I just can never quite get my head around. That it's not sort of built on totally stable, loving foundation, I would say. It's a little complicated, but she seems to just absolutely adore and want to serve his best interests all the time. So I love those scenes. I find it I'm like, what is your little pathology there, Sam? Why are you wanting to be sort of talked to in that way? Which makes it fun to play. It's good.
I love to perform with Román because Pete and Sasapis have a very weird dynamic. They're like roommates and buddies, and they feel very intimate in a way that I don't feel with anyone else. And someone said we have a real like Tom and Greg from Succession dynamic, which I'm now leaning heavily into.
I love that.
It's great. So yeah, I enjoy those scenes very much, and we're gonna have a bunch of fun this year.
Yeah, no, I love working with Richie. It's super. It's. I feel like that dynamic is so much fun, and like we share this room, and I know I just love working with everyone because every relationship, character wise and actor wise, is always so different. So it's just fun to have like different days, and I just love this cast.
Who's
When
Tom
you
and who's Greg?
someone, there's someone else, you know.
I think actor just asked in the Tom and Greg relationship, who I assume that Pete is Greg.
You know, Román, what was it? It was something recently where I was like very Tom to your Greg. There was something that we were doing recently.
I feel like Román is the one who, or that Sasapis is like, the wise one, or like kind of the meaner one.
Definitely. He's got the seniority, and Pete is definitely a Greg in most cases. But then I feel like we did something recently where it switched, and I was like, oh, I love this. Why am I bullying you? This is great.
Well, it is fun to play that because my character, of course, he's been around for a long time, but he's still really young. So I feel like there are switches where Pete will be the dad. And then also parts where Pete is, I'm like, oh, you're just a child compared to me.
Yeah, totally.
Make sure that you watch all of Succession before you start watching Ghosts. It's very important.
You will not understand Ghosts. Yeah, you will not know what's going on unless you watch.
I want to add also, she's not here because she's working, but I love working with Flower. I think Sheila just brings such a unique perspective to the room. She's always the one who can say the thing that everyone wants to say. Or she just takes us in so many different fun directions. So Flower is always my favorite to work with. She makes me laugh so much.
Mm-hmm. Utkarsh, do you ever feel kind of left out since you can't see or hear anybody else in the cast technically when your character can't?
Look, nobody said their favorite person to work with was Jay. I just want to say that. I'm just putting it out there. No, I don't feel left out. I feel like I get to watch a bunch of people doing what they do really well all the time. And I sort of have a unique ability to actually stare at them and work almost like an audience member when I'm off camera. And I really think that Jay has been integrated into the group in such a fun and clever way. He knows everything about the ghosts. He's more invested than most people in their lives, their histories, where they're going. He loves them deeply. And this season, I think the writers, the Joes in our writers' room have found some really, really clever and special ways for Jay to communicate with, and connect with all the ghosts. So it's really fun.
Also, just to give a shout out to Utkarsh, like, you can't imagine how hard it is to be spontaneous and also not respond to 80% of the things that are happening. It's a really hard and thankless job. So,
well, not thankless. I mean, we are.
He makes
some HCA nominees here. You know what I'm saying? We got some two-time nominee, baby. You know what I mean? But yeah, no. Humility is important.
But yeah, can you talk a little bit about the episode where Rebecca's character possesses you? How you got into character as Hetty?
I've said this a bunch of times, so Rebecca, forgive me for, repeating the same thing, but Rebecca has created such a special and iconic character, and no impression is good unless the person that you're, copying has created something really unique and one of a kind. And that's what she's done with Hetty. So to be able to sort of like follow her lead, she has such a specific physicality. She has such a specific, point of view, musicality in her voice. So it's all kudos to her. And then her and our director at the time, Katie Locke O'Brien, really helped to create that. And then, yeah, everybody's been begging for possessions ever since, baby. We got the possession market cornered.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get that in Succession. You know what I'm saying?
And Rebecca, I think that Hetty and Isaac's relationship is also a special one, and watching their bond kind of blossom has been fun to watch, as an observer. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit, you and Brandon, how you two work together.
Well, Brandon, maybe you want to talk about that. Brandon Scott Jones is one of the most naturally funny and absurd human beings I've ever been in a room with or had the pleasure to be friends with ever. So to work with him and to play off of him and to have the those moments of the thrilling moments of delighting him and being delighted by him. I mean, we're all very close. I think that's pretty obvious, and we all just enjoy not only working with each other but setting each other up. I mean, we're all that's part of the most integral things about this kind of ensemble is to know how to set the other guy up, just to know how to keep the ball in the air. And I think this is a group that I've never worked with a group of 10 people before that are so incredibly talented at doing that. And Brandon is obviously, very, very talented in that regard. We're very, I don't know, we're kind of wired the same way and make each other laugh. And it's a great relationship. Yeah, it's a great duo.
They like to eat dinner together, and they
I was waiting for Devan.
They understand lunches and dinnering, and their dinner parties are fantastic, and I think that's where they get along mainly.
Yeah, Brendan does make a fantastic buffalo chicken dip.
Yes,
that's right.
It's enough to lure a lot of friends.
Brandon, what's your ingredients in that buffalo chicken dip? We got is it a cream cheese base? Cream cheese?
It is. It's a cream cheese base, and it's a full ass bottle of ranch. No, if we're talking about cooking, nobody does it better than Danielle. I'll tell you that. Yeah,
that's true.
So it's true.
In fact, she had about 4 minutes between when she wrapped and when she had to be in this panel, and she said she managed to put on a chicken, like in literally 4
season.
Yeah.
Season.
She's always casually saying, "I put on some chickens. You want me to send one over?" And she means
I'm telling you,
she'll Uber over a pot of soup if you're feeling sick.
I love sharing recipes. It's my favorite thing. It's what's been passed down to me by my family, and anyone that I can feed, that is how I show love. So we've all eaten each other's food, and everybody here is a great chef. I'm telling you, every single person on this call.
Yeah, this is sort of the bonus that you get. I mean, we shoot in Montreal for many months a year. We really just have each other. It's the 10 of us, and we're here all the time. And as such, all of our families have connected, and we've all sort of we've broken bread as much as any group can, and it's really special. And I think that's why you see the chemistry on screen be as tight as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem sort of like living show in that way, in that you're all in the same place at the same time, interacting with mostly each other.
Particularly during the pandemic
earlier today. Oh, sorry.
No, just particularly during the pandemic, we were pandemic babies. So like that sense of sort of the excitement and the gratitude, but the claustrophobia and the sort of codependence, and it was really all incredible timing to be developing the base for this show, I think.
I was just saying, Asher posted a picture earlier today. I think that we wrapped shooting the pilot just about to the day 4 years ago. So, I mean, there've been so many interruptions and so many, what?
All right, he was wrong though.
3 years.
Three.
Okay, 3 years. I made a mistake. 3. Okay, Rose, just sit down. Calm down.
Sit down. I took it down.
But it feels like we've already lived a little mini lifetime together, and that's the kind of earned history and chemistry and relationship that the show is built on, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. For the ghosts, I'm sort of curious about your relationship with your costumes, because you are wearing the same thing all the time. The clothes that your character died in. Do you I don't know. I guess some of them are probably more uncomfortable. Some of them are less. Whose costume is the most uncomfortable? Is it yours, Rebecca? Is it Brandon's?
Probably. Brandon, is yours? Not really.
Sorry, yeah. I was gonna say, like, Rebecca has to wear a full corset and has like so much piping and lining, and it's such a up close, it's such a beautiful thing to look at. So I wouldn't compare myself to what she must endure in order to get into costume. But yeah. It's really it's fun it's interesting because every season you still have a fitting for it. You like go back and it's like this one was really sobering because apparently what I did with my strike was eat. And and so that was sort of like a just a little wake up call that and but yeah, so that was my experience. But it is they are such it was like meeting an old friend,
Fun fact about my costume that I learned today, which I had a suspicion of all along, but I never really wanted to clarify it, and now I know. So I wear well, I wear leather, you know what I'm saying, and they don't. You can't wash it. There's my pants don't get washed, and my the only thing. They just they put the I get some oils on there, like some citrus oils they spread on there. So I'm kind of I'm gamey. Yeah.
Devan is also wearing the same pair of leather pants in real life. Different pair of leather pants, but he wears leather for work and leather for play.
Leather all day.
I think at this point, are you used to no pants? Does it feel normal to be walking around like that?
I'm sorry. Who are you asking that question to? Yeah, it has become a fairly normalized thing. Although I have to tell you, it's a little cooler up here than usual, and I can feel that difference. But yeah, you do start getting a little comfortable. But I will tell you, when there's a moment I can put some pants on, it's lovely.
Which is new for this season. That's definitely a new
thing. I think Utkarsh turned the temperature down, which is forcing these pants on. That's what's happening.
Yep. You're welcome. Everyone else.
Thank you.
Yeah. Crushed velvet is great in the wintertime. It gets a little tricky in that summer. And that little wig with the bang in the summertime, it gets a little hot. But
Danielle, I wanted to ask you about that also. I saw what you wrote on Instagram about how you asked if it would be okay to take off your wig at Alberta in that finale scene, and that it was a tribute to How to Get Away with Murder. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that? Why it was important to you?
I remember being in Chicago. My homegirl had just had her baby, and we were eating Rotel. And we used to come together and watch Shondaland on Thursdays. And I remember that last scene when Viola Davis took that wig off on broadcast TV. I had never seen anything like that in my entire Black life. And all the women and the Rotel fell up into the air and we all screamed, yes! So it is such an iconic moment, not only in television, but also in Black history. It is a meme. Viola is my North Star. I had the honor of working with her in the crossover episode of Scandal. She is everything I want to be when I ascend more in this industry. And so when that flashback, I wanted to honor her in some way, but also it was me preparing Alberta for her passing. And if anything I know about this character so far, she would want a hand in that. And so I asked the Joes and they said, oh yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. And I was flopping that wig off, putting it back on. Brandon and Román were also in that scene as well too. And it just was really beautiful that I got to give her a tribute. And I saw her at the Grammys and she was like, oh my God. So it's been really fabulous. And I love playing this character. I think she's just, a great, what would I would say? Like just a really great asterisk in Black history, And so, yeah, I love me some Alberta. She's amazing.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's something that the show does really well is it's a diverse show and, not just like racially, but, across the eras and everything. And that, we're seeing, a Black character, Native American character, whatever, but we're seeing different shades of them. And Asher, actually, this also, like, I am Jewish, and like seeing a character who is Jewish, but like it's part of their identity, but it's not their entire identity, but it's a very important part of their identity, is like very, kind of gratifying. So I don't know, is that something that has spoken to you as well about Trevor?
Yeah, I never. I'm not even sure that the idea that after years and years and years of being in this business, and I get to do this role that is now a bigger and bigger part of my life, all of our lives, this show, and I get to speak to this side of me, especially as a Jew who did not grow up around other Jews. I was I never quite had that community. It's kind of like it's a thrill, and exactly what you're saying is that it's part of him, but it's not all of him, and so he can be all of these other things, some good, some not so good, and still be this specific flavor of a person. So I'm very lucky. Joe Port and Joe Wiseman gave me that opportunity, and I think they're doing a great job of finding everyone's specific things, each of these characters, because you're right, it's this beautiful, exciting juxtaposition of all of us together, and then all those things become more rich.
And Brandon, Isaac's coming out story similarly is, has been, I think a lot of viewers have really responded to it. It's meant a lot to a lot of people. I mean, what's that been like for you as a performer?
Yeah. It's one of those things. You get to work through some of your own like shit, I guess, when you get to kind of do it as an adult, you know what I mean? And you kind of like get to put a coming out story on steroids where like, whether you're in the closet for 20 years or 250 years, it's still going to be really, really hard. And for some people, for other people, it maybe isn't. And everybody's journey is different. But I know that it is nice to be able to sort of, have it for me, it just offered like a window in or a connection to a character that otherwise wouldn't necessarily like ring in my head as like something that I would identify with as like a dead Revolutionary War soldier, who's a ghost. But so once we were able to imbue that part of the character, I think it really helped. But yeah, it was pretty fun. It was cool. And yeah.
Generally speaking, do most of you feel like what are the other things that you've kind of brought to your characters, I guess, not just like that haven't just come from the writers, but like suggestions that you have made, or I don't know, are there other things that kind of stand out, like the wig moment?
They've been very receptive. Go ahead, Rose.
No, I was just going to say, Román has been so incredible at the amount that you've shared, researched, given, and brought like to your role, because obviously, there's been some terrible underrepresentation of Native perspectives, and not only has like the production has done a great job of bringing resources to us to understand as much as we can, but Román is like goes above and beyond all the time, and I'm just so impressed and grateful to have somebody who cares as deeply, and and takes time to educate us and take moments like when he can to share things with us that it's not his responsibility to be sharing, but it's incredibly appreciated.
Thanks, Rose. No, I appreciate that, and then it made me think about an episode with that my father was on. So our amazing Lenape consultant Joe Baker has been just so involved, and thanks to the Joes, it's been a beautiful process. But I remember we were talking about I wanted to speak some Lenape in the episode, and so I remember talking to the Joes about one of my favorite shows, Warrior. They do this really cool thing when they switch from Cantonese to English, and so we kind of played with that idea of like speaking a little bit in Lenape and then cutting into English to kind of establish the language, and then kind of like bring it more into English for accessibility reasons. And we got to do that, which is like really cool, and was such a dream to have that, because I think it's important for language revitalization. Is a huge topic in the native world, and so it meant a lot for me, and it's been amazing to see more and more how we can implement that into the story.
Yeah, I guess each of you are probably very excited when you get a flashback sequence and we get to learn a little bit more about your character. I guess at this point we know how most of you have died, but we don't know how everybody has died, right? Like I don't think we know how Sasapi's dead. Or Hetty?
Sasapi's and Hetty. I think those are the two, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have theories? Is it coming and you can't spoil it? But have you thought, I'm sure you thought about it.
The writing might be on the wall for Hetty, but I don't know. I don't know. I have not been given a clue. We might see a little bit more backstory into Hetty's young life, maybe some flashbacks. She hasn't had that yet. But yeah, not necessarily her death. What about you, Ro?
I don't know. I have theories, but I have no idea. So I'm excited to see what the writers' room cooks up. They're so great. The Joes are amazing, and it's been a great journey. So we'll figure it out. We'll see.
They really are amazing. The amount that they have given us, like there's especially last season, 22 episodes. There's so much story to come up with, and there's so many characters to service. And the idea of spinning all of those plates all the time and facilitating interesting conversations and asking big questions but landing the jokes. It's like I'm in awe of the way that they're able to kind of service all these characters, and that we all feel like at different moments in particular that you kind of that they really land these things for all of the individual characters.
It's also you're dealing with 8 different histories in one that you have to like have a strong grasp of to understand the inside jokes of that time and juxtapose them against the jokes of another time. It's so hard what they're doing and really impressive.
They're very open and receptive. We've all kind of become little armchair historians for our own little time periods, and they're very, very receptive in hearing little pitches and tidbits that we might offer. So that's all very cool. It's a clearly a really great work environment. We all feel very happy to be given the privilege of doing this with this group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's sort of amazing that despite how big the ensemble is, and I mean how much there is to kind of get done per episode, you've also had a bunch of great guest stars on. Tara Reid comes to mind as a 90s kid. Is there anybody that you've worked with that has come in, for a guest arc or for just an episode that you've been anybody has been like particularly excited about?
Oh, that's a really hard question. We've had
everyone has been fantastic.
I've always been an SNL person growing up. I watched it religiously, and so it was very cool to have Laraine Newman on as an original member of the SNL cast, and she shows up on set and she's just like the warmest, loveliest person too, and was so funny and just a wonderful sort of partner to share the screen with. So that was super fun. But yeah, we are very spoiled. We've had like an unbelievable kind of army of people come through that are just incredible.
Yeah.
Actually,
go ahead, babe.
Oh, I just want to say real quick about Laraine Newman. I went to school with her daughter, so that was like kind of cool to be like, hey, like, yeah, oh my God, yeah, tell Hannah I say hi. So that was kind of fun too. Just like little connections like that have been really fun.
Shout out to our casting directors, Liz Barnes and Venice Talley.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Ashley. I just completely inverted her name. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Is Ashley Kelly and she played Alberta's descendant. Her and I actually went to college together at Temple University and had not seen each other for about 10 years. And so it was nice to reconnect on the show. And she's fabulous and also starring in Chucked on Broadway right now too. So it was a beautiful full circle moment.
And Danielle and Ashley went above and beyond in that episode. I mean, they were given this song to sing, and the two of them were practicing and arranging the song and just poured themselves into it. And the payoff was so enormous. When the two of them sang together on set that day, all of us were tearing up. We were like, you could just feel the power of these two women singing this beautiful song together. It was an incredible moment.
Shout out to Danielle's husband, Jack, as well, who really came in and he's a choral guy, like he's in a choir and it's just so gifted. And the way our kind of family all bleeds into this show is such an exciting part of it. To me, it's like, we all have each other, and then we have these amazing support networks and the crew in Montreal. It's just like the amount of people that go into making any of this happen at all blows my mind. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
Poonam Patel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Poonam.
Yeah.
I like her. She's my favorite.
Baton, one of the ghosts from the the original, the UK version of Ghost, he played with us, and he got a chance to interact with Richie a lot, and it was so very funny, and we were so excited to have him on set. That was
just the best, and so nice to be able to thank someone in person for creating the concept behind what we're doing. Like none of us would be here without the creators of the BBC show. So yeah, that was an incredible moment to have him with us that week.
Have most of you watched the BBC version? Do you not want to have it kind of, get in your head as you make your own?
I avoided it for the first season because I was like, I felt like the new kid at school, and I was like, I didn't want to know what the cool kids were doing because then I'm just going to copy them because they're so cool. And I've since then watched it, and it's so fun and brilliant. And, the concept is just wonderful and rich concept. I'm so glad that we get to tie ourselves to. I would like
I watched the first few episodes and was so in awe. And I mean, it's just totally what I grew up. It's like growing up in New Zealand, that kind of sense of humor is like what we grew up watching, so much British comedy. So I was blown away, and I immediately kind of three episodes in was like, I need to take a break because I don't want to do, as Asha said, some sort of pale imitation of something that's really clearly brilliant. And I think, we're our own different dynamic here. It's like a bunch of different ingredients with a bunch of different histories to serve. So I think for me, it felt like that's a treat that I'm going to wait for at the very end of this series. And I hope that's a long time from now, but just to be able to go back and watch, because I'm in awe of, an idea. It all starts with an idea, and this idea is so strong and such a gift to be part of.
Yeah, it is the sort of premise you hear and you're like, they didn't make this already? Like this didn't already exist? It just seems so like, you can just see the entire thing laid out before you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like your version is definitely warmer and like, in an American way. I feel like there's, a tender aspect to it that there isn't as much in the British one. Do you guys also feel like, it's a comedy and it's naturally, dark because it's about death, but there is like this heartwarming aspect also.
Yeah.
The main difference, I think, which is why I love British comedies, is there's a lot of sarcasm for sure. There's that sardonic humor and the dry humor, and for us in American comedy, we have more pace. There's more earnestness. There's a lot more like the energy is up, and also we made this during the pandemic, during a time when I think it was really necessary to create a positive environment for people to come and sort of and be a part of our family on Thursday nights, Tuesday nights,
8:30,
Thursday nights,
anytime, right? On Paramount Plus.
There you go.
And there's the ad.
I think we're on Thursdays. I don't know. You just look it up.
It's there, but no, I think. And also, just to be frank, like I don't know how many episodes the BBC did, but we're probably quadruple that at this point. We're really we're 22 a year. There's so many stories to tell. Each of these characters gets full arcs and full adventure. So it's really fun to see where the Joes and our writers' room can take us. We have a lot more real estate to work with.
Well, we also got to do commercials too. We got like TV timeouts baked into our episodes. So, which kind of, we have to have lead ins and lead outs, which makes it a little more difficult to tell a story, properly. It's just it's an added asterisk of like difficulty. And then we lose a couple minutes of like showtime. So those things kind of make it a little more tricky for the writers, but yeah, I love that British show. It's so much fun. I'm with everyone else. I saw like the first 3 episodes and it was so good, but I didn't want to like get too much into my veins. So I just kind of step back a little bit and
also I think it's so interesting to try to jam because I do feel like our show is full of heart and I'm so proud of that. But 21 minutes is so short, and to try to literally put sentiment into really tight timing is an art, and it's an art in the writing, it's an art in the editing, it's an art in the performance. But sometimes you think it's like there was this particularly sad moment I was doing today, and I'm mindful of like the pause I'm taking to reflect upon something, because you're like, in the great scheme of this, we've got to keep moving too. So you kind of to juggle the rhythm with the heart, with the comedy is like, again, back to the musicality.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a juggling act also, because you are playing, you're playing characters on a sitcom, and there's a certain sitcom-y rhythm, but it's also, single camera, and there's, kind of a more intimate aspect to it too. So is it hard ever to calibrate your performance? I mean, I feel like this is maybe, like Thorfinn is a very like broad character, and he's like yelling. And is it ever hard to kind of find the right balance of like how broad to take it?
Yeah, that was I discovered that pretty quick. So here's a little fun fact that I didn't know until working on the show, that on television, you're only allowed to like go up to a certain like decibel level, like certain loudness, and then they just cut you. So like, that's as loud as you can get. Whereas in like film, you could get really loud, So I remember like the first season, and I still do it too, but like just yelling loud and going real hard in the paint, just getting real Thorfinn with it. And then I was like watching episodes back, I was like, dude, I'm yelling there, and I'm the same volume as I am when I'm talking, like, what is this, man? And the dude at the, ADR place was like, oh yeah, like, you could yell, but it's still going to be the same volume. I was like, oh, so that helped me calibrate performances, because, it's not about being the loudest, but, you try to inject a little bit of power in different, performances to get like, a better reaction. And so lattice isn't always the best. But Thor, when we first started doing this, it was just like, I was just yelling and shouting all the time and losing my voice and just going nuts and, sweating everywhere. And I think I've kind of found my pace after a while. So yeah, it's a dance.
I think there's a big calibration because it's a kind of a unique thing with this show, because there are so many of us, but that's also kind of the magic of the show, is that you have these moments that bounce from person to person to person to person. And that variety is what kind of gives the show this very specific flair. And so you may have an episode where you're like, oh, we're diving into one particular person's backstory or whatever it is. And you think, oh, well, this is really my time to go and, down this journey. But it's still this ensemble piece. It's just that the camera may be focused on a certain time period or whatever it is. But we all have a hand on that ball. And there's a timing to it. There's a musicality to it. There's a rhythm. It never stops being this group effort.
But I do find it's so unique in this show, in that it's like there's two scripts happening at any given moment. There's the script that's happening in the ghost world, and the script that's happening in the livings world. And they're sort of like tracing paper or something that's laid on top of each other, and they play off each other. But I sometimes find, as Sam, like, I'm trying to keep the work as invisible as possible to be sort of serving in two different scripts at any given moment, because it's like sort of she's air traffic controlling all these voices and needs of people, and then still has to be able to drop into, not wanting to go too technical, but like the A story and the sort of the thrust of her kind of narrative engine for that will, I don't know, I have moments with it, like, yeah, even yesterday I think I said one of like, which scene am I participating in any given moment? And I do think we're all serving the same like story, but there's two really different layers that are happening in a way that doesn't happen in other shows, just because of the nature of working with ghosts,
It's a very high level of technical difficulty that Rose manages to make look effortless, and you really do. And
I try to hide. It feels like I just don't want a lot of apparent work with it, because it's getting in the way of these brilliant performances of, like, I do feel like Utkarsh, we're sort of front row at a comedy show so much of the time, and it's so brilliant to witness, and you just want to kind of be able to keep the engineering hidden, hopefully.
Absolutely.
I remember when we shot the second episode, at the end of it, Rose comes in with Utkarsh. Or Jay at this point has not come to believe her that there are ghosts in the house. And she's like, okay, what do you all want? And there's a scene that she has for the first time with all 8 of us going around conversation. And I think we shot all the ghosts first. And the last thing we did was the reverse on Rose. It's like a 4-page scene. And she did it in like one take. And all of us
it's
were
been
like,
downhill ever since. That was the start of season 1. I blew my load, and here we are.
Can I just say, which is so funny, is Asher, I knew you were going to tell this story. Like, that's so weird. I feel like I know you so well now. I was like, oh man, Asher loves telling the story. Rose, I was like, holy shit, I know you do. That's so great. We spent a lot of time together.
Finish each other's
sentences. And
period.
I just want to reiterate something. I really want to drive this home because I don't think a lot of people understand, like, this cast specifically, we're all best friends. We all hang out all the time. We do stuff together. We love each other. We celebrate each other. When we get done with the show, we go hang out. We go to dinner. We spend weekends together. We hang out with each other's kids. We hang out with each other's dogs. There are a lot of shows, a lot of casts throughout of all time that seem like that's what it is. And the moment they say cut, these guys aren't friends. They're not friends. They walk away. They don't talk to each other offset. They go into the little places and they hate each other. There's these rifts where everyone doesn't get. That's not this set. It's wild. We're all best friends. We all hang out. We love each other, and it's just something that is, growing up as
like
a
the
kid,
lady does protest too much, Devan. It's like
we're friends. We're really good friends.
We really mean it.
When I say I hang out with these people, I do. So like, I do hang out with them.
I mean, you try.
Yeah, and that means like once every 4 months, I will call them and I will hang up. I try to leave a voicemail, but if they pick up, I'll call back until they don't pick up and I'll leave a voicemail because that's how much I care. No, yeah, I'm totally full of shit. I hate all these guys.
Oh, no. You led with the heart. Stick with the heart. He's telling the truth.
I am.
I just want to say real quick, you know how there's that phrase that floats around, representation matters. I think the thing about this group, which is so important, is that we all genuinely celebrate and speak up for and respect each other's diversity as well as uniquenesses. And I am so grateful to be a part of this cast because there have been times, especially as a Black woman, where I've been on sets and have been a part of casts where you do feel unsafe. And from the writers to the crew to the actors, I have never in my life been a part of a show that is so just accepting and also it's just a really special moment. And I just want to just give flowers to Rose and Utkarsh because the way that they play these characters, the audiences, they feel that. Utkarsh may not be able to, Jay may not be able to, but his sheer investment and love in Sam, I'm like, that's the kind of marriage I'm trying to have in real life. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, blind trust, I believe it, and how they negotiate all of us. We're their kids. And they've also given us a second chance at life in our afterlife. And I think that's the beauty of this show. And that's what audiences are feeling when they're watching this. And that, I feel really lucky. When I came to LA, I was seeing that representation matters. I was like, ooh, I'm about to be in the all Black Dawson's Creek. And baby, I'm so grateful that it is Ghost on CBS because that is way better than what I wanted.
Well, it is a show. Like I love the very premise of our show is like everybody, like it celebrates everybody's unique perspectives and voices, and it's like it's such an honor to get to share the screen with people who aren't exactly from where you're from and think the same way you think. And it's it really is. It's a total privilege and something that I think is hopefully why the show resonates with a wider audience at the moment is that, that needs to be a part of our conversations is not everybody thinks like you culturally, understands exactly where you come from, but like you can love each other and learn about each other. And it's true.
I've learned so much about the earth being flat from Richie that
I kind of think there's something to it. Richie preaches about the earth being flat.
No.
And it's like...
while I have the floor, birds aren't real.
Okay, well, okay, we're going to just keep you in prayer, friend. That's it.
I will say, me and Utkarsh are really into conspiracy theories. That's for real.
They are. That is real.
If we want to do a podcast about that stuff, Utkarsh, I think we need to start that up. Anyways, let's go on. Sidebar.
I was just going to. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to ask you when our Vanity Fair cover is going to happen.
We're going to talk about that when the panel is over.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to go back to what Danielle was saying also, in that it's really refreshing on a show too to see a marriage that is strong, and where both halves of the couple love each other and support each other. And yeah, I don't know, seeing the way that Sam and Jay relate to each other just feels, very, it's heartwarming, but it's also refreshing. I feel like there are so many toxic relationships on TV.
Yeah,
it's nice to see
it's the ideal. It's a joy to be able to play the ideal. And, sometimes we had an argument as characters on set the other day. Rose, I don't remember where it was. We were at the reception desk. And I remember talking to our director, Jay Cares, and we did a take that was more soft, supportive, earnest. And it's been 9 months, right, since I've been back in this character. And we were both like, there he is. That's the guy. He's the ideal. He's the partner that you want to be. He responds the way that we all wish we responded the first time, not after we say the thing we don't mean and then go back and have to apologize and bring flowers home and then we say the right thing. Jay is who we all wish we could be the first time. And I think he teaches me how to be better in my own marriage all the freaking time. It's fun. And then I think Rose allows me to do that, and she's a very easy person to love. So it's been nice to get back into it.
I say this all the time. I'm like, Jay's character is like, Jay is more invested in the ghosts than Sam is, and she's the one who sees them. Like, he really is this kind of a North Star for how to be a supportive, loving husband who still has so much of his own stuff going on. And I think people are going to be really excited this season to see more and more Jay's own pursuits kind of becoming central in the storyline. And yeah, there's so much to mine, and Utkarsh does such a great job in it. And I feel like Jay and Sam, it's nice. They're a loving, real couple that drive each other insane a little bit, but also really support each other in such a aspirational way that I think he's right. It's nice to have that on screen and somebody to look up to, I hope.
So I think our time is almost up. So before we go, is there anything that you would like to tease about the next season? Any hints that you want to drop?
Sure, I'll tell you what happens. Alien abduction.
Tom is named the CEO.
Oh, yes.
There might be a new ghost coming to town.
Oh, right. Yeah. Somebody might be leaving you and somebody might be coming. I guess you already know who's getting sucked off at the end of season 2. Is that reveal coming? I don't know.
You should find out.
It was Richie. It's Richie.
Yeah, not Pete. It was Richie.
I have it on good authority.
Yeah, I played myself. I got
tuned. Stay tuned.
I think we can tease that we find out some more ghost powers. So that's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, we are all in agreement that it's probably the best ghost power.
Yeah,
for real.
Agreed.
Best one yet.
For sure.
And we do work with animals on set. There is an animal component. And having worked with that animal yesterday, I have to say, simultaneously more professional than any of us, knew their cue, made their animal noise on command, was brilliant. But also we genuinely had to stay out of their eye line. So kind of a diva.
Not talking about
it was funny because the animal made it so that no one else could really talk. And Rose turned to everyone at one point and was like, I love you all so much more like this.
It was heaven. Oh, it was so quiet. Yeah. Oh,
it was so happy.
And then we get a lot more about the restaurant with Jay and Sam opening up the restaurant in the barn. So that's really cool. They're making our restaurant set right now, and it is beautiful. Excited to go check that out. And then what else? The aliens come, Richie gets sucked off. I think that's about it.
All right, great. Well, on that note, thank you all so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of the season. I can't wait to watch it.
Thanks.
Thank you.